If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of your favorite podcast, Mind Pump,
we took a left.
I know it's your favorite.
we had a good time. We talked about aftershave, toothpaste,
Yeah, why is it burn?
Tiger Balm, and the perception of benefit.
Don't put it on your balls.
Yeah, we talked about
bad idea.
pain, like what is pain, and sometimes there's not a physical reason for feeling physical pain. There's a lot of stuff going on. Doesn't mean it's not real.
I see dead people.
We talk about it. We talked about some cool experiments that demonstrate how the body can perceive certain things. And then we get into some pretty interesting conversation about contest prep.
Should you even compete?
Yeah, the damage people put their bodies through. We talk about what people do with exercise, the big no's, like the big things that people do that tend to slow their metabolisms down.
Little recap on the San Jose Pro Show.
Yeah, we talk a little bit about that, and the metabolic damage differences between men and women. There is a difference. Also, this month, our biggest promotion yet, we're actually doing a buy one, get one free promotion. It's our first time ever. Enroll in the MAPS Super Bundle, which is about a year's worth of exercise programming. It's got MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, MAPS Aesthetic, MAPS Anywhere, and MAPS Prime. So basically you follow them in succession.
It's a cornucopia of maps.
And you use the MAPS Prime to kind of pre-prime and post-prime your workouts. That's all put together in a bundle, and it's discounted greatly. Well, if you enroll in that, you get one for free. So you can do this like with a friend, a family member, your spouse. It's freaking awesome. To find out more about this, go to mindpumpmedia.com. I feel cool. Like cool air on my face. You know what I mean?
Just blasted.
I haven't
blasted breeze.
I haven't shaved my face in like a year. And
did you put aftershave on it?
No.
Yeah.
The burning one.
I love doing that. Yeah.
Just slap it on your face. Yeah.
Oh.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know. What's the thought process behind that? Like it's gonna.
Like it has to burn.
Yeah.
It does burn.
I know that.
But like what? It's supposed to help.
But let me ask you guys this: like
the alcohol on your open.
Well, I know why. I know why it burns. I don't think I'm putting liquid fire on my face.
No, but is that really
what is
necessary?
That's it.
Is it necessary, or is it just like a pain that we've always tolerated? Like, oh yeah, you should burn.
It makes me wonder if, like, when you put the aftershave on, if it doesn't burn. I don't know about you guys, but back when I used to shave, if it didn't burn, I was like, "This is bullshit." I'm like, "This is not the." I'm gonna buy another.
Yeah, I didn't go close enough.
It had to burn my face.
Well, it's
to be real. But does it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's the same concept as toothpaste that bubbles up. And
I know they put detergent in your toothpaste.
Yeah. The more it bubbles up, this must be working. It's frothy,
nice and frothy,
and soap on your body, right? Like you get soap that like lathers up. You're like, oh, it's working good. It's lathering up.
Do you know how many people
tricked us all?
You know how many people like are losing their minds right now just realizing what you said, because like same thing, all of them, shampoo,
yes,
like soap, toothpaste. The suds mean nothing.
Nothing.
It doesn't mean it's more effective.
Pure, just somebody figured out a way to market it better.
Or like when you get like shampoo. You ever get your hair washed at the salon?
I know we have an old listener that knows where that started. That came from. There's somebody who's like 70 who's like, I remember.
Shout out to Doug's neighbor. Yeah.
Somebody knows this. Doug should know this. Why did they do that? Why? Where did that come from? And I wonder if it all started at the same time. I wonder if bars of soap, shampoo, toothpaste, and the aftershave all put it together around the same time. Like it was like a company.
It might. It's funny because
like Old Spice figured it out. They're like, listen,
probably Old Spice.
Yeah,
people like to feel stuff.
Brute.
They have to feel something to feel like it's working.
Yeah,
right.
it's true.
Dude, the true old man smell is brute.
It's the science behind fucking pre-workouts.
Yes, it is.
It is. I mean, they put fucking niacin, all the shit that makes you feel hot and tingly and flush. It's like, what is it really burning fat, or does it just make you feel?
Oh my god, that's probably what's in that. When you have flakes like dandruff flakes, like you have the dandruff shampoo, it like burns.
Yes,
I bet you they just put it in there to make it feel like it burns.
Yes, all tingly.
Yep.
Those fuckers.
So when you go to the salon and they wash your hair and it feels like cool, you're like, oh, it feels the tingle. It means it's working. They just put a little menthol in there.
Damn it.
It's not really doing shit for you. But feeling cool,
sneaky bastards,
and nice. Yeah, we want to feel stuff.
We're all a bunch of suckers.
So I remember about maybe 15 years ago, 14 years ago, there was this topical cream that you could buy. And Kevin, of all people, Kevin Levrone was promoting it at the time. And you put it on the
Oh God! I just saw this literally yesterday. The old guy, the old Mr. Olympia guys are the ones that I just saw a page with Flex Wheeler and his buddy, and I can't think of his name right now. He goes all the way back to Arnold times, and he's still competing. And he was talking to Flex at Olympia, and he had the cream, rubbing the cream on your biceps to get a pump and stuff. And I was just like,
This cream was exactly that. You rub it like, I'm going to work my biceps today, so I'm going to rub it on my bicep to get a better pump in my bicep. And what's in the cream is capsaicin, I hope I'm saying it right, which is the active ingredient in pepper. Mm-hmm. There was arginine. Of course, they have to sprinkle a little arginine because it's going to give you a better pump. Doesn't really work that way. And then something else in it that basically makes your skin red. So when you put it on, you get like this red.
Feel it
wherever you put it. You'll get this like red, like not rash, but like swollen effect on your skin. Mm-hmm. And here's what's funny about that.
It's like irritating your skin.
Yeah, if you're really going to get a better pump on your bicep, putting it directly on your bicep is not going to help because it's not going to go to your bicep. It's become systemic. If
you're targeting it, bro.
Yeah, if you were to absorb anything through the skin that way, which you're not going to absorb arginine necessarily that way, but hilarious, right? Because I remember I actually bought it.
Good.
I actually fell for it. Because
rubbing it all over the place.
Yeah, dude. So
Sal rubbing on his dick.
Yeah, exactly. He's just jacking it.
I was like, ooh, I want to get a pump there.
Things are happening.
I didn't know capsaicin burned, but no, I rubbed it on my arms and I worked out, and they just got really hot and red. And I remember thinking like, this is bullshit. What the fuck did I just do? This doesn't feel good at all.
How many stupid things did we try growing up trying to get a better pump or build more muscle?
I was really into Tiger Balm there for a minute.
I'm trying to think of the dumbest thing
after workouts and then just rubbing that all over the muscles.
So that stuff actually, that
Tiger Balm, remember that?
Yeah. That stuff actually works, but it doesn't work in the way that people think it works.
Applied.
Yeah, people think you rub it on a targeted area and it goes through the skin.
Yeah, it penetrates
to the bone
skin layers and
it doesn't go that deep. It doesn't even go beyond the top.
That was their whole marketing is that it goes super deep.
No, it doesn't do that. What it does do is it because it causes a sensation on the skin because the chemical composition of things like menthol stimulate the nerves and cause a sensation of cold or hot or whatever. You're not actually cold or hot, but it tricks your body into feeling that. And what happens is because the central nervous system is getting this signal and perceiving it to be cold or hot, it interrupts and confuses the pain signal. So it's not like curing the pain or reducing inflammation or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It's literally just confusing the signal so then your brain doesn't perceive the pain the same way and you feel relief. So it does work in some cases, just not the way.
So, okay, explain that a little bit more. So you're saying that when you put that like icy hot on.
Yes.
So
you're creating a new pain that your central nervous system is responding to.
And why that would work is because when you get pain somewhere, right, like your body automatically is going to send fluid there, right, to recover because it senses that it's
not even pain.
Injured.
It's not even pain because when you rub it on, it doesn't hurt. It just feels cold. But what it does...
No, I mean an area that you're having pain.
Oh, right.
You have pain there. Yeah. And that's the body's natural response is to send fluid there, right?
Inflammation or inflammatory markers.
Yeah, right. So that's what it does. So by putting this on there, it creates this cooling process. Is that what you're saying?
No, it makes you perceive.
Well,
here's an example. Here's an example. You ever chew like mint gum or wintergreen gum, and then you breathe in and it feels so cold in your mouth?
Yeah.
Or you drink like a cold Coke or something and freeze the shit out of your mouth? It's not actually cold. It's not making your mouth cold. It's just making you perceive your mouth to be cold. So it's not actually doing anything other than creating this perception. So when you're rubbing these lotions or creams or whatever on your skin for pain, because it's sending a signal to your brain and making it perceive differently, it actually can interfere with or confuse, if you will. That's a bad word, but it's interfering with the signal of pain. So then your brain perceives the pain a little differently. And for a lot of people, that could mean less pain. Mm-hmm. So like we have this, so my girlfriend has this, maybe I talked about this on a podcast. She has this green oil that she got in because she used to travel with the Cirque du Soleil, and so she'd go all over the world. And when I first met her, she would get migraines sometimes, and she had this little tiny bottle of this really potent green oil with all this Chinese writing on it, and she'd dab it and put it on her head, and she said it made her headache go away. And I remember thinking, like, that's bullshit. And she was like, no, it literally makes the migraine she's like, it's still there. I can still feel my head throbbing, but I don't have the pain anymore. And then it came to me. I'm like, oh shit, you're interrupting. You're confusing the signal. So I did a little research, and that's exactly what those things do. So they do.
That makes me think about foam rolling as being,
yes,
like, it's a very similar concept.
Yes.
And that's why it's almost like you're localizing a different area of your body for, your body to respond to, like, sensation wise.
So it's the similar way that I think, and I believe Western science will explain acupuncture this way eventually, but I think acupuncture works the same way. I don't think that there's a Chinese qi energy that's flowing through the body and there's blocked areas of qi and you got to loosen it up. But I think that's the way they explained it. That's how they use their language. But what I think is happening is I think you're literally interrupting or confusing signals to your brain so that you then perceive pain differently. Now, does that mean it's going to heal you faster? Perhaps the same way massage might, right? Because if you're walking and moving a certain way because of pain, now you don't feel it anymore. Now you can move and walk differently or whatever, and you're no longer causing the problem or maybe causing the, whatever the root issue is that's causing the pain. So maybe it's a long-term, benefit as well. But if you consider the central nervous system as responsible for so many things, then I could see how acupuncture and these types of, things may actually have an effect.
Well, to me, that makes a lot of sense especially when Justin brings up the foam rolling and what we know about that and what we used to think about that, right? We used to tell people you're breaking up knots, but in reality, it's more of a central nervous thing that's going on more than anything else. So.
Well, yeah, and I'll have people who will have they'll feel their knee pain, I'll have them foam roll, do a couple stretches, now walk. Oh, my knee pain's gone. You're such a miracle worker. And it's like, well, I don't think I got rid of the problem.
Sort of band-aided it.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think a lot of the pain relief is because we're, kind of changing the signals that we're, because pain is all perception. It's 100%. If you really think about it, have you ever done this to yourself where you hurt?
All the time, and you don't hurt until you look at it. And then you look at it and it's like, it hurts so much worse when you see blood gushing out, right? Once you see the blood gushing out, all of a sudden the pain comes.
So they do this famous experiment, which it's so fucking awesome. You can look it up on YouTube.
Well, was it Walter Longo who talked about this? Or who was the guy who talked about it with the whole snake biting you in the ankle?
Yeah. Who was that?
So you can look this, it's very similar to what I'm about to say. So you can look up this study on, or as a TED Talk. You can look it up online, but they'll have a bunch of subjects or people wearing these virtual reality glasses, and when they put them on, they look down at their body and they see this doll. So they look down at their legs and they have little doll legs or whatever, because what they did is they hooked up a camera in front of a doll looking down at itself. So when you look inside the VR and you look around, everything looks the same except when you look down at yourself, you look like you're like this little doll, right? And so that's what you see. So then what happens is a researcher, and they have you barefoot and everything, a researcher will come over and they'll tickle your foot with a feather while tickling the doll's foot with a feather. So when you look through the VR glasses, you see these little doll legs getting tickled with a feather, but then you feel that you're getting tickled with a feather.
Oh, shit.
And what happens is your brain, very quickly, you can do this on yourself if you could get the setup. You could actually do this to yourself. Your brain very quickly connects to the doll and perceives that the doll is you.
Yeah.
So then they'll do all these things to the doll's leg while they're doing it to your leg.
What a fuck up trick to chop the leg off.
That's what they do.
It's like a voodoo doll.
That's what they do.
That would be so fucked up, dude.
So,
you get tickle you with a feather, then also I take a butcher knife and just go whack.
That's what they do. So they do all these things. And
really? That's a fucked up trick.
And you're feeling your leg being touched, but you see this doll's leg being touched as you look through these VR glasses. And you don't even realize that you're totally connecting to it.
Except when you're a Ken doll and you have no nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they take a knife and then they pretend to stab the leg so people kind of flinch and go, oh my God, this is so weird, whatever. And then they actually hit the leg. People freak out. And when they interview them afterwards, they say, literally, for a split second, I felt you cut my leg.
Yeah.
Like, how fucking weird is that shit?
Really weird. Well, they did that same experiment split with like a false arm.
Oh, yeah.
On the other side. And they put a camera on it. Yeah, and they hit the hammer on the hand. And so, yeah, you're looking at it like you see, like it becomes your hand.
Well, so what is it? So think about this. Like, what does that tell us about pain?
That's trippy.
You know how many
times?
How many times people go? Because there are real reasons for pain. There's definitely, you can definitely have an imbalance,
well, it serves you,
injury, right? Swelling, whatever. You can have real root causes of pain, but a lot of pain is connected to our own perception and emotion. And when people are like, like people will go get massage or whatever, and they'll get emotions released from having body work or whatever. And some people will say, oh, that's ridiculous and hokey. No, it's actually legit. I've had clients who have worked through emotional issues and all of a sudden no more back pain, no more shoulder pain or whatever as a result of it. I actually had a client who I worked with for a long time on her shoulder pain. Initially when I worked with her, horrible imbalances, definitely some issues. We corrected it all to the point where when we would work out, I wouldn't even see an imbalance anymore. I'm like, your shoulder's working well. Like, everything's working well. I was very confused as to what was going on, why she still felt this pain. She went to the doctor, MRI, everything came back normal. And so we started talking about these potential emotional connections to pain. And one of the questions I asked her, I said, how long have you had the shoulder pain? And she said, oh, for the last 4 years. And she used to be very active, and it prevented her from being active. And I said, well, how did that make you feel? And she's like, it felt horrible. I felt like I was forced to not do the things that I love to do. And so she had this very strong, visceral, emotional connection to the shoulder that fucked up her life, basically, right? And so I said, I wonder how much of this is you perceiving. And here's the thing. People want to hear that because they think you're saying it's not real. I'm like, it's real. You feel it. The reason you feel it, so it's real. It doesn't really fucking matter if there is a physical cause or not. You feel it. And the funny thing is, after like a couple months of having these conversations and kind of working through stuff, she literally it clicked and the pain went away. It was so weird. Like, literally just disappeared. And then it would kind of creep back, and then she'd realize that maybe she's perceiving or whatever, and then it would go away again. It's a very, very interesting experience.
Yeah.
But doctors will prescribe things like antidepressants for back pain that has no, cause that they can see. And sure enough, people will respond to antidepressants and have no back pain. I mean, how fucking weird is that shit?
Yeah, it's a trip.
I love it. I mean, I love this kind of stuff because I think it's great because our industry tends to be, or at least the
it's not as straightforward as you always perceive it to be. And I think that's important that people don't just, I mean, you can get examples and you can kind of make these ideas of where you think, like this concept's come from, but a lot of times it's more complex than we can even pinpoint.
I think when we approach things and say things to people like, for example, if you start to understand this process and you tell someone that, hey, maybe they're perceiving this pain because of some emotional whatever or some connection to it, like make sure you let them know, if you're a trainer, like that doesn't mean you're faking it or it's not real or you're trying to get attention. If you feel it, it's real. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we try and create analogies to simplify, things for people. And I think that's half of what we try to do, even to be able to communicate it better. But a lot of times there's just so many different factors that, you could keep going down this rabbit hole with.
It makes me realize as a trainer because I was guilty of this a lot, especially when I first became a trainer, of not really believing my clients sometimes.
Right.
Do you guys ever do that?
Yeah.
Oh, a lot. I
feel like an asshole.
Well, I think
sometimes because of that.
A lot of what we talk about on this show, and also why we're so passionate. I mean, recently we just defended Paul Chek on a question, and I feel like why that is because I don't know how many times I was wrong, man. I don't know how many times that what my client was saying to me or what I was mathematically adding up, this is what should be happening. It wasn't true. There's always seems to be this exception to the rule, more often than not too. I think that was what surprised me after you've been doing this for as long as we have. You've met, hundreds of cases where it's just like, man, just none of the things that I was taught or that I was told added up for this person, and it didn't work. There was so much more going on. So much to the point where at least in my experience, so much of the results were psychological. Like as far as them getting to the point or getting to their goals, there was so much work to be done up in their head before the physical part. And I think as a trainer, that was a major. Me evolving was learning that and putting that together and going, man, I was so focused on the X's and O's of training. And once I learned to kind of let that go a little bit and figure out that, wow, there's so much more that I can help this person with their relationship with themselves, their relationship with exercise, their relationship with food. And as I could start to put that together, everything else would start to come together. But it took a lot of those cases, like you're saying that, where was wrong or couldn't figure it out. Like, this doesn't make sense. You must be lying to me, or this can't be true. Like, I know we're working fucking hard. If I worked this hard, I would be seeing these kind of results.
Sneaking candy bars, I swear.
Dude, I used to get really mad at clients, and I'd think they were lying, and I feel so bad because looking back, like I'd have people tell me like, Sal, but I'm only eating 1,200 calories. I'm not losing weight. I'm like, you're full of shit because you're doing this. And now, of course, I know that, man, the metabolism can adapt and slow down so much.
Dude, you want to hear a trip? Check out what happened to me this weekend. So I shared with you guys maybe, I don't know, maybe a month ago on Mind Pump that I had an old client / friend of mine and Katrina's that was getting ready for a show. And she had hired me a couple of years, I think like 2 years ago, to coach her. And, she wanted to get ready for a show that's been on her bucket list. Like, I want to compete. And so it was in the heart of me competing and on coaching. And she's like, I'd like to do this. And I said, well, she wanted to pick a show. And I told her, listen, the real work is done in the off season, and we need to prepare you mentally and physically before we ever even decide and pick a show. And I was really adamant about that. And she was a friend of mine. So I was like, whether she liked it or not, this is how we we're going to do it. Like,
I remember you telling the story.
Right. I've shared this with you guys. Mm-hmm. So her first show was this weekend.
Oh, she competed.
She competed, and she hired somebody else besides me, right? And now, mind you, I'm not coaching anymore or doing that. So, and she would have loved to have been coached by me, but I still wouldn't have let her because I know that she wasn't ready yet. She hadn't put the work in long enough and consistent enough to build a good, solid frame, a good, solid metabolism to get her ready for a sport this extreme of cutting, right? But she did it anyways. And she competed, and she looked good. She looked better than we had got her to when I had her trying to build her metabolism. We never went on a hard, real cut. I was always trying to fix her metabolism and put some good lean body mass on her. And the most, I think the lowest that I ever got her down to was about 15% body fat. And even at that point, I still didn't want her to do a show yet. So fast forward to now. So she does this show. Well, what she decides to do is day before she gets on stage, she goes to get her body fat tested, but she tells the guy tells Aaron, don't tell me. I don't want to know what it is I don't want it to fuck with me while I'm on stage, but I do want to know I'm in the best shape of my life. So I want to see where I'm at. Right. And so she wants to open it up with me and Katrina. We go there and she's like, hey, she already got on stage and she's like, I've been waiting to open up my body fat test with you guys and go over it. And I'm like, great, let's do it. So she was down from the weight that she was with me, 25 pounds. So she lost 20.
So her total body weight.
Yeah, total body weight. So her total body weight, she was, so she walks around normally at about 155 around that range. And so she was down to like what is that?
Like 130 or something.
Yeah, right around there, right? A little lower than that, I think even. So she lost 25 pounds during this prep, and we open it up, and she's looking over it, and I'm so used to looking at Aaron's dunk tank, so I saw the body fat percentage right away, and she's like kind of searching for it, and I catch it, and like I was like I was like, oh shit, right, and I don't say anything. I let her kind of she finds it, and she's like, is this right?
Like, wait, that's not right.
And I go, yeah, no, it's right, and she's like, I don't understand. And I'm like, well, this is what happens when you cut this extreme. So he had her up to 3 bouts of cardio
a day
for her 10-week prep. She didn't have any fruit, so no fruit for 10 weeks. She at the very first week, right out the gates, was doing an hour of cardio plus reducing calories. I think she had her less than 1,500 calories at one point, and up to 3 hours of cardio every single day, plus all of her training. And she came in at 17.5% body fat.
She actually because she lost shit tons of muscle.
So she got on stage and competed.
That's got to be eye-opening.
At a higher body fat percentage than what I had.
All that work.
When I had her eating 2,600 calories. Okay, 2,600 calories and no cardio and weight training.
Who is this fuck stick coach? You should give him a nice little shout out.
It's actually a big name pro guy out of New York that coaches a ton of people. He came highly recommended from someone else to her.
Oh my God!
And
you're an idiot.
So more than what was great though.
You sir suck.
And what I might do, I told her this, that she's actually going to come in today. So you guys are going to see her today.
Oh, okay.
She's going to come by today, and I'm going to talk to her about helping her, come out of this.
Repair that.
Yeah, because this is what happens, and this is what's really scary for her. And she looks great. So if you look, I mean, she's 25 pounds less, so she's the smallest she's been in forever, right? So she's weight-wise.
Yeah, but the rebound, you got to be careful now.
Yeah, right. So can you imagine that you lost all that lean body mass?
But that's the trap, where all these competitors get into. I look so great,
dude.
It's important they see that.
The hormone changes, the metabolism changes, the changes to everything from production of catecholamines to the receptors that these catecholamines attach to. I mean, you're in such a damaged state. Coming out of that is so crucial because what our body's going to want to do is blow up like in a big way to where it's going to be very difficult to get back to where she was before.
Oh yeah, no, this is happening all over and when you lose that much weight, and she looked good. So if you look at her pictures, the average person would see that and they would be like, oh my God, everyone's so proud of her, which they should be. I mean, she disciplined herself for that long and she busted her ass to lose all that weight to get on stage. And she looked smaller than she's, ever really looked in the last 10 plus years. And so imagine like if you were somebody who didn't get tested, didn't have the resources of someone like me who had tracked her body fat before. And because I had her do all that stuff when we were coaching. And this is exactly why I don't think that people should get ready and go do a show just to do a show, because there's so much work that needs to be done to your metabolism and your lean and your mass before you want to have a bunch of good lean mass, and then you want to do it very slow and strategically. And this is what happens. A lot of these competitors, and then they get on stage and they see themselves lean or smaller than they've ever been, and in their head they think, I'm in great shape. I'm in good shape. They think, but really you got fatter. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't register for a lot of people that you could lose 25 pounds and actually get fatter.
So people don't understand why. So if you took, let's say I'm walking around so I'm 100 and I don't know how much I weigh right now, 190 something. And let's say I'm 9% body fat. So 9% body fat, or let's just say 10%. And let's say I weigh 200 pounds. So I got 20 pounds of fat on my body. If you took that, if I lost 50 pounds of muscle but kept 20 pounds of fat on me, my body, even though I didn't gain any body fat, my body fat percentage went up because now it's a greater percentage of my overall body weight. And this is what may happen. She may have less total pounds of fat on her body at this much lighter weight, but because she lost so much muscle, however much body fat she has is now a greater percentage of her body weight than it was before, which is not a good thing.
I gave her the equation this. I said, you lost 25 pounds, right? And of that 25 pounds, at least 15 of it was actually muscle. 10 of it was fat. So you lost 10 pounds of fat, which is why you feel better, right? 10 pounds of fat came off your body. So your waist and your legs and your arms and areas that you had body fat, you feel better. But what you don't realize is 15 pounds of muscle also came off. And people are probably going like, how the fuck does that happen to somebody who's lifting weights and training and eating good food?
Let's see.
And
you're just like keep hammering that signal for cardiovascular endurance style training.
You're telling your body to become efficient with calories.
Get rid of mass.
It's trying to become efficient with calories. And think about it this way. You're spending 3 hours a day in the gym doing cardio. You're feeding yourself very little, and you're doing maybe an hour of resistance training, which your intensity is probably bad because you can't train hard because your calories are low. You're doing so much cardio. So you are sending a signal to keep some muscle, but the signal that's overriding all of that is become very efficient, which your body tried to do by losing 10 pounds of muscle. It just adapted in that direction. It slowed itself down.
Well, I don't think it's an equal 1-to-1, but when you think about it like this, to me, it's almost obvious. Like if you're spending more time doing cardio than you are lifting weights, what do you think is going to become more of a priority?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's kind of obvious like that. It's like if I'm spending more time on a treadmill than I am in the weight room, then the signal I'm telling my body is obviously.
Even then, I would guarantee that the weight training itself, I mean, there's probably like barely any rest.
Yeah, of course.
Sets,
of course. I'm sure
it's all cardio.
I didn't even ask her that. I didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? I know like everything he was doing already was ridiculous.
These coaches are morons.
Yeah, and the reason why I wanted to share so bad with you guys was that, people don't put this together because they see the smaller frame. Like, and had she not done her body fat test, there's a good chance.
It's a good thing she did.
That she would connect that this is the best shape she's ever been in her life, and this is what
strive to get back.
Yes, and this is what it takes to get there. When in reality, it couldn't be further from the truth.
So I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something a little controversial here with this because, but it needs to be said, in that competing on stage and doing doing these kinds of things is bad for anybody. It's bad for men and for women, but it's worse for women. It's worse for women because the female body didn't evolve. It evolved needing a certain amount of fat on its body, and a woman's hormones get affected in a very, very big way with extreme dieting and extreme exercise, more so than a man's, and they take longer to recover. And this is evident. Look, you can see this in female athletes who get too lean. They lose their period. A man is fertile. A man's always going to be fertile. I mean, you have to do a lot of bad shit to a man's body to cause it to stop producing sperm, but a woman will lose her period just getting too lean. They find this with fasting. Although fasting is healthy for everybody, there are studies that are now demonstrating that women, their ability to fast for long periods of time without negative side effects is lower than a man's. Now, we can speculate why. I mean, we can think, okay, evolutionarily speaking, if men evolved to go off and hunt, we probably evolved to handle not having food for longer periods of time, looking for food, whereas the women may have stayed back and, foraged and found nuts and roots and seeds or whatever, so they didn't have to necessarily go for longer periods of time. But also the female body, much of the reason why she evolved the way she did is to bear children. That's really the defining characteristic of humans, is that we procreate, or at least the defining characteristic of evolution is that we procreate. Only those of us that procreate are the ones that pass on our genes, and those are the genes that we have now. So if a woman places herself in these kinds of positions, the body senses that this is not a hospitable situation for pregnancy. Whether you want to get pregnant or not, it just senses that, and it will make drastic changes to your body that are very damaging. And so when I've worked with clients, men and women, who both have metabolic damage, 10 out of 10 times, it's easier to get a man to reverse that metabolic damage. Women take a much longer period of time. They did not evolve to build muscle as easily or just get nearly as lean as we do. And women can get very lean, but again, a guy can get down to 4% body fat and get on stage. If a woman does it, she has to use male hormones, and you get all kinds of masculinizing effects and all kinds of weird stuff that happens. So I hope women are listening right now and like, you really can do some serious damage to your body.
Staying on the being controversial or probably offending some people, well, I'm going to just piggyback right off of that.
Here we go.
It's fresh on my mind.
Favorite tag team.
You just triggered Adam.
I haven't been to a show again since we stopped by and saw Arya, and we saw him for a pro show, so it's different. So I was actually watching NPC, and NPC is
you know me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
NPC is the amateur level, right? So these are all, a lot of these people are in the first 1 to 5 shows, or potentially more if they haven't placed in the top 5.
Was this like a national qualifier or anything like that?
No. This is no. The MPs, if it's NPC like that, this is at San Jose. I don't know if this was a national qualifier. Doesn't matter. It's amateur, right? Okay. So, and I was telling Katrina this while I'm sitting here and I'm watching these girls come out, and the class that my friend was in, I think she had 18 just in her height category alone. The total in the entire bikini class was somewhere between 50 to 70 women. Between the 50 to 70 women that I saw on stage, I can count on one hand how many of them I believe their bodies were ready to be competing at that level. And let me explain what I mean by that and what's wrong with this fucking sport. Is if you were to play, okay, so we've already talked about that competing is the 1% of the 1%ers, right? Like if you're getting on stage, you're like the 1% of the 1% competing at that level. Okay, so it's already a very, very small part of the population get into that ridiculously low body fat percentage. That's what I mean by 1% of the 1%. And then to get on, not only are you a very small percentage of the population, but now you're also getting on stage and competing against others that are exactly your height. So it's a very, very, very small sliver of people that they fall in this category. Now, very similar to like basketball players or football players or baseball players, but there isn't any sort of a filter to get you there. And what I mean by that is anybody can sign up for an amateur NPC show and say, I'm going to do a bikini show. And to me, there's a problem with that. I don't think anybody and everybody should be able to play a sport just because they want to sign up for a sport. Not at that level, because at that level, it becomes dangerous. It becomes dangerous and it becomes unhealthy if you don't know how to play the sport right. And so that's what I look when I look at these bodies. So many of these bodies I saw on stage, and I'm going, most of these people I can tell by their frame and the way they look, they haven't put the fucking work into the gym yet. You haven't even built a physique yet, but you look cute in a bikini, so you think that you should get up on stage. And you hired a coach who starved the fuck out of you and ran you on a treadmill for 8 weeks, fucking your metabolism up, and you have no idea because you wanted to say, I got up on stage and I competed, or you want to get more Instagram likes. And so that I have a major problem with that. And people didn't understand when I was getting ready for a show. I remember talking to my peers and they were like, why don't you get on stage now, Adam? You'll do well at an amateur show. And I said, well, my body, I could not even hang at a pro level. When I was first training to get ready for a show, I trained for a whole year before I even got on stage. So a year I spent building my physique. Now, mind you, I've been lifting weights for 15 years. And I still didn't think that I had built a frame that could compete with the 1% of the 1%ers. So why would I put myself through extreme dieting to get up on stage to present myself, knowing that I haven't put the real work in, which is building a metabolism, building a solid frame up before I go shred and cut down like this?
Yeah, and really, it's just you're trying to warn people, like, it's. Here's what I would recommend.
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying,
be careful because
just put the work in.
Dude, we've seen some horrible shit people have done to their bodies.
Yeah.
And they've done it to themselves, through going through this process. I don't know about you, Adam. Let me know what you think about this. But in the past, I've had people ask me, should I compete? And what I've told them is, why don't you train kind of like you're going to do a show, but don't actually do a show, and take pictures of yourself and just kind of see how you feel rather than going all the way, just so you get an idea of what's going on and you can monitor yourself and see what's happening to your body.
Well, no, 100%. That's exactly what I recommend to people is that, you should prepare yourself or train as if you're going to get ready for a show without the pressure of having to get ready for a show. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot more that comes with it, and this is what ends up happening, right? And this is what these coaches do, is they take anybody on because they want to take the money, right? I want your money, so sure, pick a show. I'll coach you along. I'll help you out. Forget that you're not ready for it. Forget that you haven't put the real work in for your body. Forget all that shit. I'll take your money and tell you how to get ready for the next 10 to 12 weeks, which is basically a hard caloric restriction followed by intense training, followed by a ton of fucking cardio. And I know that any knucklehead can put that together and lose someone a bunch of weight, just like they did my girlfriend. And now she's down 25 pounds, but really you did a ton of harm to her body. And she has got an uphill battle now, reverse dieting and coming out of this. And it's not as simple as, just add a little bit more calories back, dude, and you'll be fine. Like, no, it doesn't work that way, bro.
Not to mention the signals that you get post-show where you start to feed yourself, and then you get this, it's ravenous. You get this ravenous hunger to eat. Your body is going to override your logic. I mean, logically, people don't gain 30 pounds in 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Of eating just horrible food. It doesn't happen logically, but it happens all the time after these shows on people with small frames. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, when we went to the show, I've been to a few shows, and the thing that always sticks out to me is when you're walking around and you see these girls sitting on the floor. Mm-hmm. They look like, their faces look like they're dying.
Yeah.
And they're
skeletons,
and they're like chewing on like a dry rice cake, and they don't even have any spit in their mouth because they've probably been restricting water, and it's just like, oh man, what's going on here?
Well, you're watching right now what I'm going through with, prepping myself like as if I'm going for a show, and I'm not. And a lot of people have asked me, are you going to compete again? Are you going to do this? I'm like, I don't know. I don't have any real desire to do it, but I will tell you right now that my physique isn't even ready for it. Like, so if I said, hey, I want a show in 6 or 8 weeks, I can get lean enough for a show in 6 to 8 weeks, but I'm not in aesthetic shape to compete with the best of the best. So I wouldn't do it. I could, but it wouldn't be smart. It doesn't make sense. So I think that a lot of the bikini men's physique, because it's growing like crazy. It just blows my mind every time I go to these shows and I see.
Was this one look? Did this one look
massive? Massive. They're all massive, and there's just hundreds and hundreds of competitors, and I think you hear when I speak passionately about this, it's not. It's more cautioning people because I know the popularity is growing. It's not going the other direction. And so what I'm talking about is getting worse before it's getting better. And so I think, and somebody asked recently, like, what does a good coach, look like and a good prep look like? Well, before we pick on the coaches, I want to address the things that people that are listening right now, they can control. If you're even thinking about doing a show and you've never put yourself in shape, and you to a good enough shape to where you can look at yourself objectively and say, hey, is my physique aesthetically put together? And what I mean, symmetrical, balanced? Do I have
like a judge would look?
Yeah, like a judge would look at you, okay? Or like the cover of a magazine. If you look at yourself and objectively say, where am I at? My body, my muscle mass. If you're not there yet, then you shouldn't be even trying to pick a show yet. You should be putting your time and consistency in the gym, training and building a frame and building a solid, good metabolism. And why that's important, not just from aesthetic reasons, it's important for aesthetic reasons because you're getting judged by the way you look and your symmetry. So obviously it's important for that. But even more so, it's important for metabolism. What I'm doing right now, I was just sharing with Sal before we got on the show, and I can feel my metabolism picking up. I mean, I'm now losing weight off of 4,000 calories. It only took about 4 weeks for that of getting back into the training volume and increasing all the. But this is all part of the process that I would have to do before cutting. If I were to just start cutting for a show 4 weeks ago,
oh man, you'd be down to under 2,000 calories.
Yes,
for a big guy like
and
you.
I would be starving, and my body would be losing muscle mass, and I would look terrible. I would feel terrible. So right now, part of me building a frame is also building a metabolism right now. I'm building this roaring metabolism that will now allow me to cut down to 3,500 calories, and that will just consistently drop weight. Well, it's no different for women. It's just a different number. Like for me, I'm saying numbers like 4,000 calories. Well, you get these female competitors, they hire a coach, and they're only eating about 2,000 calories a day or less, and then they want to get cut for a show. Like, what's he going to cut you to? Mm-hmm. He's going to cut you to 1,500. You're going to lose the first couple of weeks, then you're going to hit a plateau. Then what's he going to do? He's going to drop you to 1,000 calories. Then you can hit another plateau. Then what's he going to do again?
Let me ask you this: when people are getting ready for a show, let's say they do like typical 12 weeks, right? Typically, it's a 12-week prep before getting on stage. Of that 12 weeks, how much of it should feel like shit? In other words, because I know people who prep for a show and all 12 weeks are fucking nightmare. Like they're exhausted.
The last 7 to 14 days tops.
That's it.
Tops.
That's it. So if you're listening right now and you've done this and your whole 12-week prep was just a
murder hell.
Yeah, just a nightmare.
Not even murder hell. You should feel great for most of your prep. Yeah. You should feel great.
I can't imagine.
You should not feel at all miserable until and when I say 7 to 14 days, I never was miserable. I mean,
that's just the hardest. That's when you start to get hard.
Yeah, that's when it's like, that's when I'm like, oh, I'm hungry a lot. Like I really feel like the last 7 days or so of heading into prep. And really, it's not the last 7 because it's the final 3. I'm refeeding the body up. So it's like this small window of 5 to 7 days of, that last bit. Because really, the healthy, our body is only going to lose about 0.5% to 1% of body fat per week. Okay, so you're talking, and these are all obviously arbitrary numbers. Everybody's uniquely different, but it's a good estimate.
It's a good general number.
Yeah, to give people an idea of what this should look like. You're not losing more than 1 to 2 pounds of fat in a week. So when you come to your last couple weeks, if you don't look about stage ready already, what you're going to do in the next 2 weeks is you're not going to make that much change. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to kill your metabolism, though, by cutting even harder and pushing even harder inside on the treadmill and training hell intense and reducing calories, you're going to do more harm than you're really going to do good. You can't possibly lose that much more body fat in that last week or two. So you should already be shaping up the way you should be getting on stage well before that.
And what sucks with this whole mentality is then when, like if I go to coach people, and luckily, and I don't coach many people, and I've never coached anyone for a show, and I refuse to, mainly because I don't have any experience doing it. So I wouldn't be a great coach for it, but also because I just refuse to get someone to a level that I know or do something that I know isn't necessarily good for them, okay? But the tough thing is then when you're working with people and you're working, and it's 3 months. Now you've been working with them for 3 months. You're like, the weight hasn't really come down that much, and you have to explain to them what's going on because they were so brainwashed to think that you get these crazy results right off the bat, and that people, it's all about short term. It's all about what's happening right now and not the long term. And luckily, people know me through the show, so they know what my mentality is and my philosophy. So I don't get too much of that, but I still get questions. And I can't imagine trying to be a coach who doesn't have a podcast where people know this. Someone hires them and then they say, okay, cool, check this out. You're not going to lose any weight for about 6 months. You're not getting any clients.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to do the shitty stuff to keep people happy. Otherwise, you're not going to, build a business. And it becomes, it's very difficult. It's tough. Mm-hmm. It's tough for people. And it's almost like, whose fault is it? You know what I mean? Who's to blame? Is it the coaches and the trainers, or is it the people who pay for this and who demand it, and then they're happy when they get it, and then when they don't get it, they're not happy.
Right.
Well, we had a question in the Q&A, and I don't know if we will get to it and answer it. But a girl did ask me, like, what I thought I talk all this like this is all the bad. Well, what's a good coach look like? Well, honestly, I don't blame the coaches as much because I feel like a competitor should know what's good or bad before you hire a coach to get ready for a show. Whether that be through
that's actually an interesting point. So you're saying don't go into it so blind and ignorant that you just do whatever the coach tells you because you don't know anything.
Yeah. They're going to try and get you to look whatever best they can in that short amount of time that you're giving them.
Yes.
So you're giving them that amount of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great point right there, Justin. And that's why you can't get that mad at these bad quote-unquote coaches because you hired them. You gave them a show that you're going to do in 8 to 12 weeks. He's going to try and get you as small as possible for that show. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be looking at you week to week. And when he sees you hitting a plateau, he's going to make adjustments. And he only has a handful of things that he can do, which is reduce calories, add cardio, or pick up intensity. Those are his 3 tools that he has in his bag. That's it. And when you give him a time frame, he's going to do that. And so is it really the bad coaches, or is it the bad bikini men's physique athletes that are hiring these coaches that really don't belong competing at this level yet?
And that's
what you got to ask yourself.
Yeah, and this is why my advice, has been rather more recently as I've evolved as a trainer to try to teach people that when their motivation behind their training and their nutrition is that they love themselves and love their bodies, they tend to make decisions that are long-term beneficial, and they tend to make less decisions that are short-term beneficial versus I hate my belly, I hate my legs, I hate my, my arms, so I'm going to go in the gym and say I hate these things about myself, and it's a very powerful motivator. It'll get you in the gym. If you hate yourself enough, it will. But the decisions that you'll make are because they're motivated by hate are going to be ones that are short-term, not long-term, the ones that get you out of pain now, rather than later. So it's going to be more if you go to the gym, like if I go to the gym and I hate my body and I hate my legs and I hate the way they look and I'm tired, I'm like, God, I'm so stiff. I'm so tired, but I fucking hate my legs. I hate the way they look. They're so fat. I'm going to beat myself up in the gym. I'm just going to go crazy and go hard today because I hate myself so much versus, God, I love my body. I really want to take care of it. I really want to nourish it. I'm really tired today. I think I need a low intensity day. I think I need to go in and just really take care of myself. 2 very different decisions because the motivation was very different. And I had a client years ago, good friend of mine. She's actually a trainer now, an excellent trainer. But before she was a trainer, she was a client. And she was just a workhorse. She could put her mind to anything. And that was part of her weakness, one of her detriments, is that she could just outwork anybody. So she got to the point where she was running 10 miles, 5 to 10 miles every single day, plus weights every single day, plus she was doing Pilates, plus she was doing bar classes, plus she was taking yoga classes. And so she was super active all the time. And she would get skinny and lean, but not as lean as she wanted to. And I would have these conversations with her and say, look, you need to reduce the amount of activity. It's like, this is insane. You're active at a pretty high intensity for hours and hours of every day. Your calories are really low, and the only what you keep doing to try and get leaner is increase your activity or decrease your calorie. I mean, at some point you're going to hit a wall. You're not going to be able to go any further.
Right.
And we'd have this conversation, this debate about this, and we'd go and go and go. Well, she ended up becoming my workout partner for a little while, so we ended up working out together. And because she was hanging around me so much, she started finally kind of trusting what I was saying and adopting what I was saying. And little by little, she reduced her activity. And the reason why that's a good thing is if she just reduced her activity point blank, she would have, gained a shit ton of weight. So she took her time and started focusing more on resistance training and started increasing her calories. And it took a little over a year. It took a little over 12 months of doing this to where, she came to me and she goes, I can't believe it. She goes, I'm doing no cardio, barely. I'm just going for walks with my friends. I'm lifting weights with you, and I'm leaner. I feel amazing. I've got way more time on my hands, and I'm eating more food. She's like, this is crazy to me. She's like, I didn't realize it. Like, there's no way I'm not burning nearly as many calories. And I said, that's not true. You forget that your body's ability to burn calories isn't just dependent on activity. It'll burn it on its own, and it'll prefer, depending on what adaptation signals you're sending, to have more muscle, less muscle, to burn more calories, less calories. And that's really the determining factor. The amount of activity that you do and the calories that you eat when you drop them so low will give you immediate results, but in the long term, your body adapts. It's very effective at doing this. It can adapt to tremendous. I'll tell you what, they did studies on prisoners of war. These are, men who got captured by the enemy and were fed, 200 to 300 calories a day. And yes, they looked like death, but they survived on like hundreds of calories a day, a couple hundred calories a day. Human body has an incredible ability to adapt. And so I want people who are listening, it will take longer. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be honest. It's going to take longer to do things right. You're not going to get in shape for the summer. You know what I'm saying? Doing it this way. Like, I have a month to get in shape for the beach. It's not going to work that fast. You'd be better off doing the crash diet shit for 30 days. But if you want to deal with this problem for the rest of your life and make it harder for yourself as you get older, every year it'll get harder and harder. I promise you. Every year you're going to store more and more body fat. Every year you're going to get closer and closer to having health issues as a result, whether it's something severe like autoimmune or just chronic fatigue syndrome or whatever. You're going to cause those problems first. Or you can ask yourself every time you go to the gym, I'm going to do the things that I want to do for my body because I love my body. And every time you take a bite, every time you sit in front of food, is this food nourishing me? Forget about weight gain, weight loss. Is this nourishing me? Is this what my body wants to be healthy? Is this how I would feed my child who I love? Which, by the way, sometimes you do that. It's easier because we can do things for our kids that we tend to be blind for ourselves, right? Would I feed my kid this way? Would I tell my kid to restrict their calories like this? Would I talk to yourself this way? It might take you a year. It might take 2 years. But here's the result of that. Effortless lean, effortless muscle, health. You'll just walk around and exude it. It'll be who you are. And I promise you it's possible. It's possible to get there. It just takes a long time. It takes a while. You got to be cool with it. You got to stop fucking hating yourself. But when you get there, boy, is it fucking awesome. It's a great place to be because it's no longer, think about this right now. For those of you who this is resonating with, think about this right now. How much of your day, how much of your week, how much of your months, how much of your life is consumed with worrying about how you look, worrying about you have to take in so little calories, I have to work out all these hours because I hate the way I look. How much of your life is consumed with that? Now think about how much of time that takes away from your friends, your family, your personal development, your growth as a human being. You are literally creating all this is a detriment to your life. Now think of when you eliminate all that, when you eliminate that incredible stress and worry and just it just consumes your day. Eliminate that. What can you do now? What are you capable of doing now? You'll be shocked. You'll be shocked at who you become through going through this process and doing it the right way. But give yourself some fucking time. Give yourself a little patience because it does take a little while.
Well, when we talk about contest prep type stuff, it's funny because it reminds me a lot about when we first came out and we talked about CrossFit. And so everybody was like, oh, Mind Pump doesn't like CrossFit or we're anti. I'm like, no, dude, I actually really love CrossFit. I like CrossFit. And it's a very similar relationship that I have with bodybuilding. They're both sports and they're both for elite level athletes. They really are. And the biggest problem I have with both of them is people that aren't ready for it doing it. That's it. I mean, I think there's definitely some dudes that are amazing and girls that are amazing to watch do CrossFit. And I'll tell you right now, the ones that are we're watching on TV that are killing it, those people they have been training their whole life, and most of them are genetically built for it. And it's the same thing goes for bodybuilding. When you see some of these like specimens up there and just amazing physiques, they didn't do that after one or two shows. They've been training for a very long time to get that way. And so I have a problem with doing bodybuilding, doing CrossFit to get in just good shape, which is what the average person signs themselves up for either one of those.
Now, do you feel it's a problem like having this new category of physique in some of these bikini categories where it seems like that's a lot more achievable and it's almost like they can achieve a certain look by just pretty much starving themselves versus, building up? Like the bodybuilders of old really had to, put in the time to build and develop that size.
Well, what I'm seeing is, and what I saw, at least last night, what I saw was the girls that took, so there was a class, like for example, the class that my girlfriend was in, there was a class of 18, I believe, for her height. And the top 5 girls, they all looked like they had been training for a while. All the rest of them, for the most part, didn't. Mm-hmm. So it's still you're not going to win a show that way. You're not going to come in just by starving the body and win a show unless you genetically have it already, right? Because we all know girls that have got these just symmetrical bodies, have a mesomorph kind of type to them already, and then if you shred that girl down and diet her, she's going to look pretty good on stage. So again, we always talk about genetics play the number one role, right? So if you're genetically built to be a bodybuilder and you just cut down really hard, you could get on stage and actually do pretty well. But what I saw was a lot of cute girls that look cute in a bathing suit that decided to sign up for a show and compete with these other girls. Mm-hmm. And the ones that take the trophies and win have obviously put the work in.
Now, Adam, I don't have the experience in this world like you do, not even close, but I'm going to make a speculation and let me know if you think I'm on the money with this. I would say, because we're talking a lot about being ready physically for these shows, but would you say that
the mental side?
Yeah, a bigger piece would be being ready mentally.
100%.
Because I could imagine someone.
I feel like that's the biggest mental sport there is.
Dude, think about it. Imagine if you're a person going into, because I had body image issues when I first started lifting weights. Boy, if I competed in bodybuilding, how much worse they would have been.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, having somebody judge and evaluate you, and you're putting yourself out there. You're already insecure, and they're just hammering on things that they're pointing out that you're already insecure about. That's a mind fuck.
That's what I'm thinking. What's his name?
Insecurities are more prevalent in bodybuilding than I think any other sport I've ever seen.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, most of what these guys and girls, what drives them to keep going is that insecurity of not looking a certain way or wanting something so bad. So, yeah, no,
So it's like you should have a healthy I mean, ideally, right? God, they'd have like no competitors if this. But you should go in having healthy body image issues. Well, healthy connection.
We're talking to mind pump people. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of idiots that are going to continue to do that, and their business will thrive. Yeah. NPC, IFBB is not going to go anywhere. WBFF, all those federations are going to do just fine, regardless of what mind pump has to say. But I hope that I can impact some of our listeners positively. That I love the sport, so I sound like I'm bagging on it because I love it. I might do it again. You know what I'm saying? Like I do, just like I feel like I talk about CrossFit, is that I think there's a lot of cool things about it. It's just I think what's happening is a lot of people are trying to do it for the wrong reasons.
They have a misguided view of what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have an idea. What if, God, there may even be a market for this where people who get ready for shows, they hire a coach who does obviously their training and their diet and stuff, but then they hire someone who they can check in with, who they give the ultimate power to, where they say, look, if my body images just get too bad, if psychologically you see that I need to back off, or I need to stop, or I need to eat more, or whatever, I need your input. It might even be wise to have a second person who that's their job. Like they're the ones that are like, okay, my goal is to make sure you stay healthy. And my goal is to make sure that you go into this and come out of it without horrible psychological issues or even damage to your body afterwards. There may even be.
Well, I would hope that. I mean,
the coach should be able to do that.
We've kind of created, not intentionally, but we kind of created that on the Mind Pump forum. I mean, we have so many aspiring competitors and current competitors on our forum that they use the forum as a place for moral support and checking in. What do you guys think? Am I doing this right? So we've kind of created that through Mind Pump already, which is kind of unique. So if you're somebody who's aspiring to compete one day or in contest prep with potentially another coach, I mean, feel free to join in on the forum and be a part of that, because I think that's a great place for that. I think it's a little crazy to have to pay two different coaches. I got one coach who's telling me bad shit and then my other coach who's trying to keep me together.
I don't know, man. I'm just thinking how could we possibly... Because I feel like I could help people, but doing that. On the flip side, I probably would end up telling most people, don't do this.
I feel like you'd be a good coach if they're going along the process. You start seeing the signs, and then
maybe help them.
You sit them down. Well, even sort of restricting them from going, entering into the show and like going to the next show. Sort of like, well, we're not hitting our markers, and you're not doing that in a healthy way. So let's draw this out a little further.
You know what makes it really bad too is that, and what happened. This is. Happens a lot, is these coaches, even big name good coaches, right, that everyone knows really well, they get 20, 30, 40 competitors per month that are hiring on them for their services. And what ends up happening is some of them have great experiences, and the ones that have great experiences typically are the ones that are genetically built for the sport, or two, have built a really good frame and have potential to winning. And the coaches put all this extra effort, which is funny. The ones that are most ready to win and do well
need the least amount of coaching.
But they get the most amount of coaching and help because the coaches see the potential in them and go,
that's their brand.
That's a first place winner right there. I'm going to attach myself to him or her because I know they got a winning physique. And then the ones that are getting involved.
Oh, you mean the pro maker?
That probably shouldn't be getting involved are getting the least amount of help, when those ones are the ones that are most at risk and need the most guidance, get kind of thrown to the wayside. Because I'll tell you, and I've said this before on the show many times, I can look at your physique and tell you if you're ready. I can see way before a show, I can look at your frame and go like, you've got what it takes to place in top 5, and so can any other really good coach. He knows. Now, he ain't going to say that to you because he wants your money. I would, because I don't give a shit. I'm not coaching anymore. So I would look at someone and go like, yeah, I think you're ready to do a show. This is how much you're eating right now. This is how you're not doing any. Oh yeah, you're ready. You definitely are in a good place to try and do something like this. And the reverse is true. If you talk to me and told me, I'm doing this, Adam, I've done that, and I'm looking at your physique and I'm going like, you're just not there, I would say, you're not ready yet. You're not ready for a show. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is we're taking everybody's money, and the ones that I already see have the real potential, I'm putting all my energy in them because they're going to represent my brand.
And the rest of them, just like, just starve yourself.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of them
just keep running.
Just keep cutting her calories.
Keep running.
Yeah. Add more cardio, cut her calories.
Go up there and kind of do your thing, get
Don't
a picture.
worry. She'll be down 25 pounds if I keep starving.
Jesus Christ, man.
Crazy.
Everything's a nail when all you have is a hammer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? On the 13th, we are having a free live webinar where
it's an event.
Me, Adam, and Justin and Dr. Brink are literally going to go through our newest MAPS program, which will be released at that point, MAPS Prime Pro. It is a correctional MAPS program that focuses on all the joints and parts of the body that nobody else does. So your feet, your ankles, your hands, your fingertips, your elbows, your neck, your spine, and more is done with this particular program. And what we're going to do is we're going to take you through, this is on the webinar, we're going to take you through assessments, teach you how to do these assessments, and teach you movements to work on these areas. And it's all free. So we're basically giving away a lot of what MAPS Prime Pro is. All you got to do is go to mapsprimepro.com and register for the webinar. Again, it's absolutely for free. Also, you can find us on Instagram. Well, we like to answer questions from people that ask us on Instagram. It's kind of our favorite social media platform. Our page is Mind Pump Media, and we all have personal pages. Mine is Mind Pump Sal. Adam is Mind Pump Adam. Justin is Mind Pump Justin. And you can check out our producer Doug at Mind Pump Doug.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.